Hello, Internet. Hello. Thank you very much for, whoa, I almost kicked over the table. That way to start the show. Thank you so much. Welcome to another episode of Chase Jarvis Live. I am Chase Jarvis, and we are here in San Francisco for Design Week. Can I hear something for Design Week? Shout it out. All right. We have a packed house. Standing room only. I wanted to start off the show by thanking a handful of folks. I want to thank the AIGA for without whom this would not be possible. That's the largest chapter, the AIGASF.org. Thank you guys so much. Borrow Lenses is where I rent my camera gear. And a huge shout out to Creative Live, who's making all this possible. Fantastic. We've had a contest that's been going on since we announced the show a week ago. And they were tweeting and Facebook and giving a shout out to the show. Drive as much traffic as possible to this URL. And the winners, we got 2 people in there, each winning a $200 gift certificate to Creative Live. And those winners are at PhotoDano and at In Space Between. Thank you guys very much for propping the show. And if you send an email to production@chasejarvis.com, we'll get you sorted. As always, questions, we're taking your questions, whether you're in Nebraska or Nairobi or just down the street at #CJLive. You can put those questions on Twitter, on Facebook at the Creative Live Facebook page or the Chase Jarvis Facebook page, and we will answer your questions right here. Without further ado, my guest today, she is literally the reason that I ever had an internet presence. I looked at what she did online and was super inspired. She was a design force of nature. She moved from Switzerland to New York, had a job as a designer within 12 hours of landing, and has never left since, and that was like 15 years ago. And then she did this really amazing thing. She got really sick of all her clients, so she dropped them all and turned to becoming an entrepreneur, where she started not 1, not 2, not even 3, but 4 amazing companies that we'll learn about today. You know her, I know her and love her, Tina Roth Eisenberg, aka Swiss Miss. Woo! Yay!
Thanks for having me.
Please. When she left from New York and landed in San Francisco last night, I knew she was in town because I got a great text when she landed. It said, "Yay, California!" exclamation point. Like, here you are in California.
I'm so happy to be here.
Design Week.
And look at this.
Yeah, standing room
Packed.
only. It's totally packed. Thank you guys for bearing with us. We don't have enough chairs. We didn't expect the last minute steamroll, but this is about you, so welcome.
Thank you.
You're here.
Yes, and you're wearing a tie.
Yes, thank you. This is the first time on any Chase Jarvis Live show I've ever worn a tie. I felt inspired. Yeah, thanks very much. Thank you. You're actually, I don't want to give a precursor, but you're not done actually touching me. There's going to be some more
There's
touching,
going to be more touching
later in the show, which we'll talk about that in a second. So I introed the show with the little story about you dropping into New York from Swiss to New York, and 12 hours later, you had a job, and you were told you're never going to leave.
Yeah, and actually the person that told me that happens to be in the audience. There's Matthew right there. Yeah,
I can't get a shot of it. He doesn't. Where's a mic? We're going to go straight to a mic. I only hear the story from him.
I didn't know I'd be put on the spot like that.
Matthew was my first boss.
He was your first boss, and can you give us just like a 30-second version of what it was like when you met her for the very first time?
Well, she had this amazing energy, and she was very open, and she was also very talented. And I've been to Germany, and I've been to Switzerland, and I'm a little bit of a psychic. I'm a Pisces. I don't know if you believe in astrology.
Bring it. All right.
And I just blurted out to her. I said, I asked her, "What are your plans after school?" And she said, "Well, I'm here in New York to see if I can find an internship, and I'll go back after 6 months."
3 months.
Or 3 months, she said. All right. And I was like, "No, Tina, you're going to stay here. You're never going to leave New York. This is your home. You're going to marry a nice Jewish guy, have kids." And I don't really self-edit, so I didn't realize that she was offended at that exchange. But she really felt that I was being presumptuous. Like, you just met me. How can you say something like that?
That's very Swiss of her to think that, though, isn't it?
But she didn't say that. She's from Swiss, very polite.
Right.
And it's been such a pleasure and an honor to watch her career, like to have someone that works for you like just surpass your.
Just blow right by you.
Right, yeah, it's just, it's
But that's the
amazing.
sign of
So-
truly someone great. Thank you very
Yeah,
much for sharing
no
the
problem.
story. Really appreciate it. And so it's true. I was wondering, you're like 12 hours. That's pretty. So you landed in New York, and the next morning you had a job interview, and
Yeah. Well, Matthew said I can sit down and start working, and I was like, okay, but yeah, he really did. And I just graduated from graphic design school, and I was literally burned out. And I was hoping that it would take me a few weeks until I find an internship so I can enjoy New York. But nope, that didn't happen. So
you went right into a design job with him.
and
then
a few weeks later, they offered me a full-time job. Like he offered me
that's
a
the
full-time
shortest
job.
internship in the history of the world.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm internally grateful because now I'm in Matthew's shoes and I take chances on young people. And I always think of Matthew, that that moment where he just figured, let's try this, let's give her a chance.
So he talks about being psychic. For the folks at home, the audience here in the live-in studio and the folks are around the world tuning in right now. They're of the creative class, and if you could give them some advice, like when you're looking for someone to take a chance on, what do you look for? How do you know that this person has what it takes?
Well, to me,
He's psychic, but you have to have some sort of. He's not psychic. He forgot if he's psychic. He's definitely not psychic. If he can't remember if he's psychic or not. But what about you? You got it.
Well, I have like now a team of 18 or 19, and a lot of them are in their early 20s. And to me, it all comes down to just when you get a sense that somebody is really hungry to just do good work. They really want to make a difference. They want to make a dent. If I sense that and they have good personalities, at the end of the day, I don't really care about, their resume. At the end of the day, what I always ask is, so what are your side projects? That's usually what I ask in a job interview, because if somebody has to hustle to self-initiate and start things on the side, that's the kind of personality I want to work with, right?
Well, this is like perfect because that's the title of the show. It's really all about that your side hustle, that your side gig, your side projects are the things that are going to make the difference in your career, are going to pick you to the next level. Mm-hmm. And so if I could be super explicit, that's something that you look for when someone's coming in. What if they say, I only want to work here and this is my whole life? Isn't that showing commitment? Isn't this a place where they could potentially be confused?
No, the reason why I asked that is because I'm a very unusual boss in that I give a lot of freedom. And if I have someone that needs a lot of guidance, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
I just understand there's different types of how you work. Uh-huh. And there's people that want a lot of guidance, that want to be told all the time what they need to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just not how I work. I like to give someone sort of clear directions on what their role are, but then there's freedom to just explore and put their own stamp on it and just be sort of, a self-starter.
And that side project question is really an indication that they are a self-starter because they got a bunch of interests.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, speaking of a bunch of interests, there's somebody I know who has a bunch of interests, and I've been to New York twice in the last month to spend some time with you, and you're always in a different. So she's basically you have the whole floor at this place in Brooklyn.
Not almost.
Almost. You have the whole floor. I'll strike that. And you're never in one place. You're bouncing all over the place. Do you think that's an asset for creative? Because I was told my whole career that you had to pick one thing and be the best at it. And like you, I rejected that premise, and I
think
believe
we're very similar in that regard.
Yeah, that's why I wanted you on the show. It makes me feel good about myself. No, but like. Isn't it true, and don't you find that in the design community, you're told that you have to be the best illustrator, or the best X, or the best, at typeface, and that isn't that sort of limiting, and aren't we a part of a new chapter now?
No, I think there's nothing wrong with that. It's just you need to know what works for you, though, right? I just know if I'm just the best user interface designer, I wouldn't be happy, because that would not be enough for me, right? So what I want to be the best at is being the most enthusiastic person that motivates teams and maybe comes up with new ideas, right? So that's my goal of being the best at. So that's what I aspire to, right? So in some sense, that applies.
Yes.
It's just not on being a graphic designer per se.
Well, it dovetails nicely with what the opening segment, he felt that enthusiasm for you. And I think if I'm not mistaken, you're well known for asking this question of if you could, what is your superpower? I think we actually have a graphic of you as What's the name of your superhero?
Captain Enthusiasm.
Captain Enthusiasm. I think maybe we've got. I don't know if we can get one up on the little.
Can I just say that this is the weirdest thing ever, having to art direct an illustrator who I found on DeviantArt of all places. And I asked her, because I found a drawing of, this woman made a drawing of the Justice League. And I asked her if she could draw me as a superhero. And she's like, absolutely. What's your outfit? And I'm like, wait, what? And so I ran over.
Direct your own outfit.
I ran down to Tatley, my team Tatley. He's like, guys, if I was a superhero, what do I look like? And that was like one of my favorite 10-minute conversations with my team I've ever had. Like one of the things that I think Karen said, like, you need confetti cannons. Like, so just spend 5 minutes today thinking about if you had to art direct your superhero outfit, what it would look like. Collar, cape, no cape, boots, no boots, like. These are really important questions.
I love it. But what it stands for, without a doubt, is what your strength is. And your strength, well, you have many strengths, and no one in this room would doubt that, because I've been inspired by you on so many different levels. But enthusiasm is huge. Talk about how that permeates through your work.
Well, so I've been thinking about the superpower thing a lot. And I've asked very successful people, what is your secret superpower? And what I've noticed is the very successful people could answer it right away. So it seems there is a correlation in between really recognizing what you're good at and then really putting that to use, right? So that's something I think about a lot. And I think that enthusiasm, like raising enthusiasm amongst people, is my biggest asset, hands down. Because for example, with something like Creative Mornings, when I started that lecture series, everyone told me, you're out of your mind. Doing a free breakfast series, not charging, trying to find venues that will host you for free, and also at 8:30. No New Yorker will show up at 8:30. But when I just come in with my ball of enthusiasm, people eventually go yeah, maybe she's onto something, right? So I just swoop them over. So that really, I think, is my biggest asset. And so here's an interesting one that I thought about.
Okay.
Some people say confidence will do the same thing. And I disagree. Because confidence is impressive, right? Enthusiasm is infectious. Confidence is about yourself, and enthusiasm is about something else.
I think that might get tweeted a few times if you say that one more time. It's confidence is about
yourself. Enthusiasm is about something else. So enthusiasm is infectious, and confidence is just impressive.
Yes.
But in the end of the day, infectious, fun stuff wins over braggy about yourself stuff, right?
There's a bunch of nuggets in there for sure. And so that's basically the genesis of Creative Mornings, which I want to postpone that part of the conversation a little bit because I got a few things I want to get to before then. This infectious enthusiasm that you carry around with you, that's something I'm guessing you're sniffing when you're hiring designers and other creatives, photographers, illustrators.
Mm-hmm.
Do you seek that enthusiasm? Is it just raw talent, or is it talent plus this desire to start extra projects, or what's the cocktail that Swiss Miss looks for when she hires people? Because that's, again, I know that there's a huge population of creatives who are watching, and that's one of the things is, how do I get my next job? How do I get better at my craft?
I would say my cocktail is, I look for self-starters, as I said, people that can started things on their own in the past. No ego, humility, excitement around making something meaningful, and then just hustle.
Hustle is, I think, one of the most underrated qualities. I don't know that it's really unsexy to talk about hustle. Someone we've had on the show, Gary Vaynerchuk, I don't know if you know Gary, he's like Mr. Hustle. That's one of the only things he talks about. But it's clearly an important factor in all of the people that I know who have gone on to do really exciting, impressive things. So I'll file that away. So I do, one of the things that you have been widely noted about is ditching your clients. Now, most people are hustling to get clients. She's the only person I know that hustled to fire everyone that was hiring her. So what's the story behind that? Because that's very, very different. That's people, it's I want to make money by my trade and doing the things that I love, and then if you fire everybody, there's no one to pay you. So
yeah.
paint a picture for us at home here.
Well, so I trained as a graphic designer, and ever since I started working as a graphic designer, sort of my dream was always to have my own design studio, right? So it's sort of what you aspire to, I guess, most. And when I was pregnant with my daughter, I realized, wait a second, I still don't run my own design studio. So I kind of said, let's start it. So the day my daughter was born, I started my design studio, because that was always my dream.
Yes.
So here I was, I had very prestigious clients. I had more clients that I could handle, and I was chugging along, and I realized I wasn't really happy. So then I got pregnant with my son 3 years later. And I think that pregnancy thing induces like a lot of thinking in my head. And I realized, wait a second, I have my design studio that I always wanted, but I am really not happy. And then I realized that I am just not made for the service industry. Disappointing someone, like if I literally pour everything into, like if somebody wants me to make their website, I will give it all. And I will make the product that the best product I can make. And if then the client is still not happy, that crushes my soul. So I've realized there's people that are made for the service industry and have a thicker skin, and I am not that. And then I sort of looked at my life and I looked at what makes me happy, and I realized it was these side projects that I literally just started sort of as a fun thing on the side, and I thought maybe I can focus on them more and maybe they can turn into businesses, and that's what I did. So I went on a one-year client sabbatical when my son was born. It's so ironic. I started my studio when my daughter was born, and I went on the one-year client sabbatical.
It seems like you're doing everything backwards, which
Yeah.
I love that, right? You're doing everything. You have a design studio, and then you take a year off to have your child, not you have a child and then you start your design studio. That's backwards. But
Yeah.
I love that there's a million paths these days to whatever it is you want to be. I want to interject for just a second and say, I'm Chase Jarvis. I'm here with Tina Roth Eisenberg, AKA Swiss Miss. We're here at San Francisco Design Week. If you want to ask a question from anywhere in the world, we are taking questions at #CJLive. And I forgot to introduce a contest that's happening right now. If you are out there in the world and you hear something amazing that Tina says, or I say, but let's face it, she's going to drop all the wisdom here, and you give us that quote, #CJLive, and a link to this broadcast right here, basically a way to spread the word on the internet. We will pick one of those quotes at the end of the show and give away that GoPro camera right there. And I love those things. That has really transformed a lot of my work to be able to take that camera and put it anywhere. So get to quote and tweeting and whatnot out there in the world, and I'll give that thing to you.
I challenged my sister to win this in Switzerland.
Oh, that's right. We
Sister, get on it.
Somebody wants to use the GoPro. But again, #CJLive, the quote, and a link to this page. So we are taking your questions, and I asked. There was a handful of questions early on in the live in-studio audience, and I asked people to hold off until the broadcast started going. So I'm going to go to you in just a second, but I'm going to open the floor with sort of what I think is a big-ish question. How do you do what you love? I've heard you say it a lot. How do you know that you're doing what you love?
Or love what you do.
Or love what you do. So what if you're like you didn't love serving clients? So love what you do to me that's a tough proposition, because me just telling you to love what you do when you're serving clients isn't really. That's not much of an opportunity or solution. So if the question is the request is to do what you love and you will be happy, the question I get asked all the time, and I've asked myself before, is how do you know if you're doing something that you love?
Well, if you never have to think about, like, do I want to do this? Like, I just going to work, getting up in the morning. Like, I know it sounds so cheesy, but to me, work and life. My personal life and my work, it's all a blur. And I think that to me is a sign that I've found my sweet spot, right?
Yeah, I understand the idea of keeping your life separate from your work. I feel like what you just described totally is the picture that my life is as well. My work, my professional, my personal life is all wound up into one thing. And I think that what a lot of people that I know who are watching today are very much looking for courage to actually put a stake in the ground and say I'm actually not happy in this job that I'm doing.
Can I just share a personal story with my
Please,
daughter?
that's the
from
only
3
reason
weeks
you're
ago?
here in San Francisco.
Yeah, so
do we want to hear a personal story?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. There you go. Right now, the whole internet's going. Yes.
Well, so my personal goal is I have 2 children, right? Tilo is 4 and my daughter Ella is 8. And my big goal is to raise them in a way that they will not settle for anything else than a job that they thoroughly love, right? So that's really important to me. And so on Mondays, I take my daughter out for dinner. We have a dinner date. And about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we're sitting there, and she's 8. And I sat there and I say, hey, Ella, do you actually know what I do at work all day? And she just very nonchalant just said, yeah, you sit at your computer and you laugh. And I thought, wow, that's the best answer ever because it's true. And then I took a second and I said, well, wait, but do you mean as in I like what I do, I'm having fun? And she looked at me seriously annoyed and she goes, yeah, isn't that the whole point?
Wow.
Guys, I did a little dance inside.
Yeah,
I was like, this parenting thing is working.
But like that's so inspirational to so many of us. And if we go back in history a little bit, when you started blogging, I think it was 2005, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. I was reading your stuff, and in 2006, I said, wow, I'm going to this site every day to get inspiration, and it's so design-centric, maybe I can start blogging and doing it on my own. And ironically, the other person who was really important to me in that regard was Craig Swanson, who's my co-founder here at Creative Live. Mm-hmm. He said, you should talk about photography. And so the two of you guys combined to help me have a presence on the internet, which is definitively the reason I think we're sitting here today. So
the internet is amazing.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I was wondering if you wanted to, you did a wave at one of your things, right? Do you want to do the wave here?
Yeah, you should do it. So at my recent 99U talk, I have this amazing slide that my studio mate, friend, she's an illustrator, Jem Masari made. It's like this animated GIF of, it says, yay, internet, and there's cats and cosmos in the back. And I just basically made the whole audience at 99U stand up and scream, yay, internet. Should we do that?
Should we do that? Let's do that. Okay. Is it a stand up too?
Huh?
We're standing up?
Yeah, hold on.
So here's one other.
I'm going to take a photo of that.
Are you going to be standing up when we say it?
Now these guys got to stand up because I'm just art directing.
So they say, hey, I'm nervous here. I'm nervous. So do they stand up?
I love that
and
the
then
camera
say,
just
yay, internet? Or is it a one motion, yay, internet?
It's like a yay, internet.
Okay, so remember you have people close to your right and your left hand. We killed 4 people today in the studio. No, and you folks at home in the internet, can we ask them to do it too?
Yes.
Is this the world?
Yes.
Is this
the world is doing a yay internet.
The internet is doing the largest internet wave in the history of the internet right now. I love this. Okay, so you want to count it down?
Okay.
Now, is it?
You're so nervous.
Is it 1, 2, 3?
It's all good. It's all good.
Is it 1, 2, 3? Yay?
1, 2, 3, and then yay internet. Okay.
I just want it to be your thing. I want to do it right.
Yeah, it's so adorable.
I'm on freaking stage. All right, you got this.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah! Woo!
It works. It's so cool.
I love the internet. Ta-da! Amazing. Woo! So, I need a cigarette now. So. Yay, internet, that was amazing. Do we have any questions from the live in-studio audience? That it's not every day you get to sit in the room with someone like Tina, so please ask away. Again, I'm Chase, we're sitting here with Tina. If you're in the internet, feel free to ask a question, #CJLive, throw a quote in there, we'll give you a GoPro camera. Back to you, my good man.
Hi, yeah, I do have a question.
Tell us who you are, too.
Oh, I'm Daniel. I'm actually a student studying computer science. But just being a creative type, I guess, also with like four companies and 4 things that you're working on right now, how do you find the focus to focus on like one thing and not always be like tossed aside by one day waking up, oh, I have this idea, and then like getting lost in constantly new ideas? Does that make sense?
It does. It's a very real question.
Well, I don't allow myself to start anything new right now. So
there's a moratorium on new stuff.
Yeah. So that is not happening unless I drop something. It's like when I buy a new pair of shoes, one pair of shoes got to go. But then again, I mean, it all comes down to having really good teams, and that's why I explained why I hire the way I hire, is that people need to be very self-sufficient. I'm just really that, like Ben Chestnut gave a really wonderful talk, Creative Mornings talk. He's the co-founder of MailChimp. And in that, there he explains, he's like a bee that he's the CEO, that sort of floats around in the company. It's a really great talk on how he runs his creative environment. And that's kind of how I feel right now, is like, while I'm still very hands-on, I'm also kind of like that bee that just sort of floats around. And that's how I am able to run these several companies. And then in some of them I'm more hands-on than in others. But does that answer your question?
Yes,
kind of.
But I'm going to go one level deeper because I'm saying that's actually sort of a non-answer because there's a little bit, no disrespect, but there's a little bit, it's hard to, like, it's hard to do 4 of the things that you have done well. So are you the, like, polymath supreme? Are you just, like, different than everybody else? Or do you have some sort of a system that you apply to, like, are there like a bunch of balls that are in the air, and when one gets really low, you reach down and throw it back up in the air?
Yep.
Or do you do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? The folks that have a lot of projects out there, they want to know how you do it.
Yeah. Yeah, the ball thing, that kind of is it.
They're all working until one stops working, and then you catch it and throw it back up.
No, but I mean, if you look at the 4 things I do, Creative Mornings and Tatley, those are my main focuses. So when you say 4, I think that's not really true. I would say I run 2 things, because Studio Mates, the co-working space, kind of runs on its own. That's not really something that needs much of my attention. Okay. And then To-Do, the To-Do app I made, we're a team. And I mean, we could work way more into To-Do, but we're not. If we poured more love and attention into it, it could blossom even more. Yep. But it's not really our main focus. So I think in the end of the day, I would say I work on 2
So
projects.
there are some prioritizations that are happening.
Yeah.
Again, I'm trying to give real concrete feedback. There are some prioritizations that are going on. And even if it's just 2 things, you're massaging or supporting both those in a way that's the best you can. And when one needs some love, you pour a little extra on there.
Yes.
And having good people around you is key.
Yes.
So can we talk a little bit more about the good people around you? Actually, any more questions from the in-studio audience? We'll take, I got one up front here. Oh, we got 2 up front. All right, we'll try and get through a couple of these real quick, and then we'll go to the internets, because they got some questions of their own. You, good man.
Hi, Tina, I'm Zane. I run a software development agency called Chillick Media, and I'm interested in knowing what are some of your daily habits and rituals that you sort of follow to keep you creative and make sure that you're getting the things that you need to get done.
I wish I had a really deep answer. I come to work. It's a great question. I come to work and I check in with my teams. And I mean, I really don't have a routine. I'm sorry. I wish I had like some magic answer that you guys can, sit down and say like, this is what I'm going to do. I have coffee and I check in with my teams. And then whoever yells the loudest and needs my attention gets my attention.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes. What about, are there any productivity tools or things that you use? Like, what are some of the things that you rely on to help you stay organized and whatnot?
Well, my app. Sorry, I
No,
gotta
it's
plug
good.
my own app.
Hey,
well, I
we're here
created
for a
I'm a list maker. I believe in lists. So I created this app called To-Do. And it's like basically a calendar view. I have it as my browser window. It's like whenever I open a new browser window, which is all the time, it sort of hits me over the head what I need to get done. And the beauty of it is whatever you haven't done today, you didn't check off, rolls over to the next day, so you don't have to write it down again. So it's very simple. If you like lists, you might.
See, when you ask the next question, now you find out there's something under that. So it's To-Do.
It's To-Do, yeah. I mean, without To-Do, I'd be a complete mess.
Free, downloaded on the internet, or $10, $20?
Used to be free. We had to move it to a paid model. So, but it's, the pricing? Oh, nice. I think it's $2 a month, $2.99 a month.
$2.99 a month.
Or there's a skeptic and a believer mode. I love that. My partner Cameron came up with this. Like when you sign up, you can either be a skeptic and pay monthly or be a believer and pay yearly. Isn't that cool? So I constantly get people come up to me, I'm a believer. I'm like, yeah. And
T-E-U-X?
T-E-U-X, D-E-U-X. To-do.
Ta-da.
We couldn't find a to-do URL, so we just have like, how do the French pronounce this? So, I'm sorry, I don't want to upset any French. No. But the beauty of it is there's a someday section where you can have, like in the bottom, where you can have you can customize the columns, the headers. And I just need to get stuff out of my head sometimes. Like there's too much in here.
Yes.
But by putting it into the to-do, I feel like I have a handle on things.
You put it into the To-Do. I like that. So there's at least a little structure to the magic that happens. Any follow-up questions? Or you feel like you got everything you need?
Yeah, just wanted to know what a typical day looks like for you. And yeah.
Coffee.
Yeah.
And to-do.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. Thank
Best
you.
answer ever. You mind passing that mic right across the hall there?
Spell that again.
TEUX.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll probably get some lower thirds going on. And tell us who you are.
I'm
and
Lisa. I'm a photographer.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, this is actually a little bit for both of you. What do you guys do to stay excited, inspired, not on a daily basis?
You
What's the
answer for
inspiration?
once.
It's my show. No, I'm happy to answer because inspiration is very, very important. And I have two modes. I have like serious inspiration, and then I have, which is almost looks and smells like research, and then I have like sort of daily inspiration, and that's we took the daily one first. It's really loving what you do. I need to be energized and be excited to get in and come to work every day. And I've been spending a lot of time here at Creative Live since I took over as the CEO, and there's so much opportunity, so much pleasure, so much passion in the walls here in San Francisco and in the location in Seattle. Just that inspiration that you know you're on the right path if when you wake up in the morning, even if the shit is hard, but you actually want to get into it. And if you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing, that stuff that's hard is like, oh my God, I can't do this. You might want to think about something different, because I can tell you the people that are on the right path, they wake up and that thing that's hard is there to keep everybody else out, not to keep you out. So I wake up every day and I make sure I look myself in the mirror. I think Steve Jobs said this a couple times, that if you're looking yourself in the mirror and too many days in a row you're not happy, then you need to be doing something else. I just need to make sure that I'm doing it. So there's a daily inspiration of like, I like my life. And then there's the other stuff. I look at people like Tina, what she's doing. I put myself around great people. I'm an extrovert by, you might not have known that, but I put myself around amazing people. That's another thing that why my photography and creative community has been important. The Creative Live community, getting to work here in Silicon Valley and Seattle around some of the best and brightest. It's key to inspiration is putting yourself around other people who love what they do as much as you do. So those are my two check boxes. And yours, my lady?
So your question was, what keeps me inspired?
Yeah, like
What do you do for inspiration?
family.
Life?
Well, there's the internet.
No, I mean, if you're just a somewhat curious person, life is just so interesting and inspiring. And it's what you said. Like, for example, the co-working space I created called Studio Mates, I am surrounded by some of the most talented, creative people I could ever dream of. There's photographers, developers, illustrators, writers, you name it. So it's my daily little TED conference over lunch, or just like being surrounded by people that are really, really passionate and excited about what they do. That's just interesting right there. Like every conversation we have ends up being like this nugget that they drop, things they work on. So it's like surround yourself with really interesting, creative people and just be curious about life.
Yeah. The Studio Mates thing is a great example. That's one of the reasons that we have a physical audience here at Creative Live and on Chase Jarvis Live, so that we're all internet friends, right? We're tweeting and Facebooking and all Instagramming back and forth, but we get together and hang out. We're going to take some pictures after this. We're going to have some coffee and mingle. There's this beautiful thing about people actually getting together. And then AIGASF, Design Week, you got John Maeda here, you're here. I mean, it's full of amazing people coming together in physical proximity. So I think that's a good dose of inspiration. I hope we got your question.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now I'm going to the internet, so you guys pontificate in and around your next question, because I'm not done with you all yet. The folks out on the internet want a couple of questions. This one at Swell Designs says, Brooklyn's all about the hustle. How much influence has the borough had on your career? Very good question there,
How
Swell
much influence
Designs.
has Brooklyn had on my career?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm the unofficial ambassador of Brooklyn.
Wow.
So I make everyone move to Brooklyn that starts working for me. I usually ask, where do you live? And then if I don't live in Brooklyn, it's like, damn it. So and then
Are you collecting votes for the next election? or what?
No. It's just like I want to convince everyone to live in Brooklyn. I'm a big fan of Brooklyn. I feel like I had to grow up in Switzerland and move to Manhattan for 1 year to then discover Brooklyn as my home. I mean, Brooklyn. I don't know if this question. It's just there's lots of interesting people in Brooklyn. It's
For
very
sure.
dense.
It's very dense.
So I think
something
that
like it'd be the
inspired me.
5th largest city in the country if it was its own country. I think. Oh,
But I
sorry.
mean, it's like it
So
literally.
that was very, very screwed up. What I just said. 5th largest city in the country if it were its own city.
When you just have, like, every time I go to the playground and with my kids and I start talking
With
to
her
someone.
kids, she qualified that.
Yeah,
right
with the
at end
kids,
there.
not just myself. I end up like meeting super interesting, creative people that, you know, do really cool stuff.
So go Brooklyn.
Go Brooklyn.
I think that's a very astute, like, you know, shout out to Swell Design for recognizing that the place that you live actually has some bear on the mindset. And it's not required, but certainly, you know, my background here in San Francisco and specifically Seattle, music, all that stuff has been hugely influential for me. And I, like you, am a big fan of Brooklyn. At Sky820 wants to know how to differentiate between a superpower and an interest. What is the tipping point that transforms your interest into the superpower?
Well, if you're really interested in something and you spend a lot of time thinking about that and doing that, you're probably gonna get good at it, and then it turns into your superpower.
Got it. Can you have multiple superpowers?
Yeah,
Wow.
I think so.
Nice. That's good to know. I'm aspiring to multiple superpowers now. If you're just tuning in, I'm Chase. I'm here with Tina Roth Eisenberg, aka Swiss Miss. We're at Design Week SF with the AIGA SF. Big thanks to those guys. If you're hearing stuff that she's saying that you like, throw that quote in a tweet or a Facebook post with hashtag CJLive and a link to this here show right now. And we will be giving away a GoPro camera. And I'm going to go back to the phones shortly. But in the meantime, I want to get into the meat of the matter on your actual companies. Because we've been dancing around them a little bit. We've referenced them. I kicked off this big fancy intro that said you had 4. And then halfway through the show, you told me you only had 2. So we're going to
I'm
say...
not saying I only have 2.
Got it.
I'm focusing more
You're
on 2.
focusing on 2. So the 2 that you decided not to focus on, that actually, better way of putting it, run themselves, is Studio Mates. So give us a debrief on that guy. What's Studio Mates?
Studio Mates is a co-working space I started 7 years ago, I think.
In Dumbo, in Brooklyn.
In Dumbo, Brooklyn, which started out with 1 room, 4 people, and we've been continuously breaking down walls, and now we're 60.
You're 60
Yeah,
people.
it's insane.
Awesome. And generally speaking, that's just a co-working space where what you rent is a desk, and what you get that's more than a desk is, it's sort of like a 1 + 1 = 3, right? You get this community of like-minded people, or why don't you put it to me in your own words?
What makes Studio Mates really special, because I mean now I think the new thing is to run a co-working space. That's really, I feel like everyone is running one right now. And that's cool, because I believe in people, you know, there's so many more freelancers now. I believe in getting together in a room with other like-minded people. That's important. What I see though is that a lot of co-working spaces, you rent a desk and then you just come in and sit wherever you want. To me, it's always been super important that you have your domain, you have your desk, that is your area, and that people are really there. Like I always say when people are interested in a desk, I say like, you have to be part of this community, you have to be here. And if people don't show up like for a month or 2, I mean, sometimes of course you have a gig and you might travel, but
Sure.
if you're generally not around, we will kick you out. Because we really want you to be part of the community and, you know, be there.
Yeah, contributing. Like you want to actually do something. Like you can't just take. You need to be able to get, right?
So I think that's what makes Studio Mates really amazing. And to be honest, I wouldn't have started these companies if it wasn't for the tremendous support and respect I got from my Studio Mates.
What was Studio Mates the first thing that you started outside of?
Yeah, I mean, I ran my design studio. Basically, it started out in Studio Mates.
Got it. So Studio Mates Design Studio served a bunch of clients. Talk about getting sick of them and wanting to do something else, because I think there's a lot of folks, there's a love-hate, a double-edged sword, if you will, folks that clients for the people who have creative careers or freelancers that you just mentioned, they are the lifeblood for us because they pay our bills. We do work for them and they write us a check and then we put that check in the bank. You don't have any clients anymore. So tell the people that having clients is one option, and paint a picture for the rest of us of what other options look like.
I feel like clients get a really bad rep right now.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not what the picture I want to paint.
Okay.
I just realized, self-aware, that I am not made for the service industry. I am not the person to have clients. For example, a Michael B. Root, a partner at Pentagram, gave an amazing talk on how he looks at the client service model and how he looks. I mean, if you have clients, look up the Creative Mornings talk with Michael Beirut.
Yes.
It's the best thing ever. And when I heard that, I was like, Michael, you are made for service industry. Me, I'm not, right? So let's not give the clients a bad rep.
Cool. But what about folks that burn out? Like, well, I'll use myself as an example. I used to try and have a lot of clients because it meant it was a rough aggregate of success for me, because going from self-taught photographer to not having any clients to having someone to help me, to give me work to pay my bills, that was a sign of something. And then over time, sort of parallel building an audience, I started to be able to rely a little bit less on them. Is it fair to have a balance, or is it an all or none thing? It's all clients or no clients?
No, I always advise people try to have like a sort of a passive income. I think the secret to a creative life, so the magic sauce, if you can build up passive income in some sorts, like if you can sort of maybe sustain yourself with, let's say, 80% client project and maybe 20% you can spend on building an app or a service or whatever it is, sort of the former Google model. I really believe that that's what I would aspire to if I would. I mean, I was very lucky that I had my blog that sort of created passive income very slowly, and that's why I was able to go on that 1-year client sabbatical. So I would advise anyone who wants to potentially get out of it, try to like build up something that could start generating, a product, a service, whatever that is. And
passive income. Did you read my cheat sheet? Because
no.
Passive income's in bold over there. I was going to get to that later.
Yeah, you told me not to look over there, so I'm.
Deep secrets are revealed. Well, I think that's fantastic advice. So let me go linearly. Studio mates, co-working, that would offset the office costs and the studio costs. Then you had a design firm that you grew and were working for clients, got tired of that, started creating some passive income with your blog. And then you had a couple of other projects that started creating some passive income. When did To-Do come along relative to Tattly, or relative to
To-Do came
Creative?
very early after I started the Studio Mates co-working space, because it came out of a lunch conversation with my studio mate Cameron Kozan, where I walked over to the lunch area and I saw him work on a To-Do app that I really don't like. And I said, can you tell me, what do you like about this app? So we went into this epic lunch conversation around To-Do apps. And I was sitting there very passionately, sketching out, this is what I need, but everything has too many bells and whistles. Next thing you know, he said, Tina, you design it, I'll build it. And literally 48 hours, we had a working prototype. So To-Do came out of Studio Mates.
Wow. So again, that's just a great, I think, example of the model. You put yourself around inspiring creative people who are getting after it, and you have an idea, they latched onto your idea, you guys built something. And actually there's the part of actually making it too. There's not just pontificating and hand waving and smiling about it. There's actually an application of I'm going to do this shit and doing it. And 48 hours later, To-Do.
Yep.
I meant to say ta-da, but sorry. But is that in a nutshell? Is it that simple? And you uploaded it to the iTunes store?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't make the app yet. It was browser-based, because I believed in we all live in the browser, and I needed something as my landing page that constantly hits me over the head when I open a browser window, what I actually should get done.
Yep.
So we had just had it as a browser, as a site, and we just used it internally. We never expected it to open it up to the public. But people that kept walking in, because we all had it as our landing pages, they're like, what is this? So we were hand coding people in, and eventually I was like, come on, Cameron, just make a simple marketing site and let's just give it away. So that was in December of 2010, I believe. And we launched it. I wrote about it on swissmiss, and I said, here's a To-Do app that we built for ourselves. You can use it. And then I remember an hour later, I look over to Cameron, and he's pale. And I see him looking at stats, and he just looks at me and goes oh my God, the internet was imploding on us. And then I did some research, and all the big people picked it up and shared it, and this is so funny. We launched it in December of 2010.
Okay.
We just made the cut for being the best To-Do app of 2010, because a Fast Company wrote a blog post about it 2 hours later. Best To-Do app of 2010. We're maybe
don't expect success quite that fast, folks. Just 2 hours is a little bit narrow for the rest of us, but congratulations. Yeah.
And what's really adorable is that for some reason the church world has picked it up. I think priests and nuns are really into lists. And the thing that's so adorable is, so we made this app for ourselves, right? And then actually shortly after, we built an actual iPhone app. And again, we never looked at this as a business. This was a tool that we built for ourselves. So we had very silly alerts. For example, because Cameron is hilarious. Like even his videos are just so funny. And for example, one of the alerts when you had no Wi-Fi, no internet connection was like, danger, danger, high voltage. It was just funny. So we got this adorable email from a nun saying, I just got this iPod Touch and it needs to last for a long time. And I'm really worried whenever I get this message, is it gonna affect my iPod Touch? And I was like, oh God, this is what happens when you make a product that people use. You need to be kind of
To think of
careful.
everything, even nuns that are afraid of electricity.
Yeah.
Actually, you brought up something that I think resonated deeply with me, and I've had some success in thinking this way, and that's scratching your own itch. For the folks out there that are thinking about doing something entrepreneurial, I created an iPhone app called Best Camera, which is the first iPhone app that shared images to social networks. Ended up being that whole thing kind of caught on. I don't know if you guys have noticed or not, but the idea was I was using like 10 apps. I would create, this is back pre-iPhone or iPhone 1. You take a picture and then you have to use the Facebook app, the Twitter app, the Blogger app, the WordPress app, just to get a photo out there. And in doing so, I was like, that is just a pain in the ass. How can we do it so you just touch one button and it goes to all the services? And the thing that I learned more than the trajectory of the app and the success there was that scratching your own itch, that if you have a problem, in the same way that Tina had a list problem, can I call it a list problem? I don't know. She had a thing to do list that was something that she needed that wasn't out there. If you build it, the chances are that there are tens or hundreds or millions of people that have that same issue. So when you're thinking about what entrepreneurial projects to pick up, living proof that you can break the internet with your to-do list by scratching your own itch.
Yep.
All right, so check, that is to-do.
Yep.
And now I want to move on to the thing that's next in line,
Where
which
I'm going
is...
to touch you?
This is the internet right here. It can be used for good or evil. We'll find out what it's about to be used for. But yes, please touch me. No, so we're going to talk about Tattly.
Yeah. I've been waiting for this moment.
So tell us about Tattly.
So Tattly is a temporary tattoo company, a design.
We're pointing at the table, but no one in the world knows what we're doing, why we're pointing at the table. We're pointing at the table because there are Tattly tats.
Yeah. So Tattly is a design temporary tattoo company that started in 2010. And it started... It all started when my daughter once again came home from a birthday party. And for those of you that kids, you know, birthday parties, I mean, kids come home with goodie bags. And there were these really hideous, annoying temporary tattoos in them that she asked me to apply on her. And they were such an insult to my Swiss aesthetic. And I have this personal rule that if I keep repeatedly complaining about something, I need to either do something about it or let it go. And I realized that, come on, Tina, you need to stop complaining about this. And then I thought for a second, so wait a second, it can't be that hard to produce temporary tattoos. I can make websites. I have lots of illustrator friends. Let's just make a cool site with cool tattoos. And then I fixed this problem, right?
Yes.
And 2 months later, fast forward, we launched Tattly. Adorable 16 designs with just friends of mine that made some designs. And
just friends like Stefan Sagmeister.
no, he just came on a few weeks ago.
Okay.
But I mean, again, I just had to turn around in my co-working space. Like, it was that easy for me when you're surrounded by creative people, right? And so 2 months later, I launched it, and this is again the yay internet moment where, you know, I blogged about it, and then literally a few minutes later, we're standing there next to the printer, and there's these orders coming in. I was like, this internet thing is magic. So, and then orders from around the world, not just like down, just, you know, it's just, wow, I'm in business. So we started shipping tattoos, and then the next day I got a call from a very prestigious museum store in London. I will never forget this moment in my life. And I pick up, and they said, hello, can we have a wholesale catalog? And I was just like, absolutely. I took their info, hung up, and I remember I turned around and was like, hey guys, what is a wholesale catalog? So I called my friends who make products, and they got me up to speed and was like, Tina, you need packaging, and you need to, you know. So I made a wholesale catalog. And now we're in stores around the world. And I must say, my personal highlight was when last year we got into the MoMA store. And I admit, I went to the MoMA store on Spring Street, and I creepingly stood there for about an hour just going, I have a product in the mama store, because I was never set out.
I love that store.
Yeah, and actually my first boss, Matthew, he has his product in there too, so I could totally relate to that feeling. I was like, wow, I was never set out to make a product that's going to be in a store.
But you scratched your own itch, right?
Yeah,
You saw hideous tattoos that misaligned with your Swiss aesthetic, and you made your own. You followed your second rule, which is you can't complain, you have to fix it.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about Tattly is, and again, I think there's beauty in starting something as a side project and not looking at it as a business. Because when you start something under the premise of a side project,
you should be taking notes right now.
When you start something out under the premise of a side project, you sort of have a different set of rules. You're more willing to experiment. You're not as afraid of failing, because there's nothing to fail at, because you're just trying something, right? And you don't make decisions around money. To me, what I've learned is I've never put making money first with any of these projects. It was really just a pure, like, what do I want to fix? What is it? What is the problem that I want to solve? And sometimes it's just pure passion for something. It's not the money component, but interestingly enough, I think the universe sends you a head nod when they think you need to continue working on that, because money, in some sense, then comes on its own.
I have the same experience. The app Creative Live,
Yeah.
It's like I wanted to solve that problem, because when I turned, there was no creative education. Once you're in higher education, you look around, it's really hard to go back to school.
And in the end of the day, I believe when you do something from a very pure and authentic place, where again, you don't set out to just, this will make me tons of money, there's a different energy around it, and people respond to that. And I feel like at this day and age, where at all times you're being pitched something, there's always a catch. When there is not, people actually go like, whoa, that's kind of refreshing. So.
There's no catch.
There's no catch.
Now, speaking of tats,
should we put one on?
Would you guys like it if she put one on my body? All right. So we were discussing this earlier, if it would be, where on my body would be a good place to put this tat. And the traditional place would be here, but neither of us are very traditional, and I like the sort of prison thug neck tattoo look. So she said, wouldn't it be awkward if I'm like, and actually that's kind of what we're going for. We're going for awkward.
We're going for awkward.
Neck tat coming my way. And it's a very manly neck tat, like a
bird. Okay, let me just see. I want to see how does the bird, does the bird fly up? Flies up, right?
Always up, yes.
Okay, all right, wet sponge.
Is this gonna hurt? Is this gonna hurt?
Hold on.
This kind of feels good, actually. Can you do the rest of them? Can I have these all over my body?
Okay. He promised me he didn't moisturize there this morning.
No.
Because if he did, it's not going to stick. So let's see. Ta-da! Isn't that cool?
Thug life.
Nice. Looks good.
So how long is this going to stand? 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
Between 2 and 5 days, as long as you don't moisturize it. You can shower and soap is all good. Just no moisturizing.
No moisturizing, and I got a bird on my neck now. Thank you very much. All right, so can I have this hustle one too? Can you put this as a hustle one?
I love this.
No,
We're going to sleeve you up.
Maybe we do this here. I'll think, but by the end of the show, I'm going to have a big sleeve.
Actually, I have a good story around that.
Okay.
So whenever we when we have trade shows, I learned my job is because I can't close a sale for the life of me. I'm just not a salesperson. But
I'm buying everything right now.
But I can get them into the booth, and I can get them so fired up that they're going to place an order with one of my Tattly people, right? So I learned that the more sleeved up I am, standing outside of the booth, the more likely people are going to notice. So I always. On trade show mornings, I stand in the kitchen and I puzzle piece my arm together, literally sleeved up. And here, my daughter, a year ago, came in and watched me in the kitchen. She goes, "Mommy, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm getting ready for work." And she's like, "I want your job." So anyway, the first day at a trade show where I sleeved up like that, I walk home and I go into the subway and there's a really big guy sitting there, and he had real sleeves. And I walk in, and I could see like he just caught me a little bit. So he looks up and he gives me the head nod. But then I think it started computing. You know, I have carrots and lollipops and whatever. and then he looks at me and he goes, "Oh!" I was like, "Oh, damn it!" For like a split second, I was part of his tribe. But
I don't know if you could zoom in on that guy right there. That's awesome. Well, thank you very much, and tell us a little bit more about First of all, TATTLY.com.
Yeah.
Right? That's where they go, and what is, so you got these packs, you got individual thingies, I don't know if,
So the beautiful thing about Tattly, and what I am very proud of, is like, obviously I will not save the world of temporary tattoos, right? So, but there's a few things I can do to make the world a little better. by running this business. And for example, they're made in the US. I don't understand why just to make more profits we need to move stuff overseas. I just don't get it. There's people that need jobs here. There's really capable manufacturers, so I will not let go of that. The artists get a really, really generous cut of every single sale, which goes into my belief that you need to have passive income.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of exclamation point emails every 3 months when we pay out artist commission, which is really cool.
Can I maybe do one with you, like some sort of photography thing?
Yeah,
maybe?
we do a lot of custom.
Okay, that'd be cool.
We work with really cool brands now to do custom stuff. And the other thing as well is there's little things like, I want to make something I love for people that love it. Right. So there needs to be a lot of love in.
So tweetable right there. It's not even funny.
And
Gosh.
when I started it and looked into fulfillment houses that would do the fulfilling is usually the biggest pain, right? But the problem is when you use a fulfillment house, they usually wouldn't. It doesn't make sense to use them if it's below $15, like your order.
Yep.
But it's really important to me that we have a $5 order. You can order one design, you get 2 of them for $5, and it's shipped. The shipping is included in the US. It's really important to me that people that don't have big budgets can place an order for $5.
Yeah.
And then we put so the reason was that we had to keep it in-house. That was the reason. I was like, okay, I can't go to a fulfillment house. But then I realized, if you really care about something in your company, you need to keep it in-house. That's something I've learned. And now we very much to some of my, to the dismay of some of my Tatley team members, I just insist on using real stamps. So we put like really cool designy like rubber stamps on it, but then we use real stamps when we mail them out. And what happens is people receive their orders and it looks like a friend shipped you something. It's not just this pre-printed label. While a lot of people might not pay attention to this, there's a lot of people that do and that appreciate it on Instagram about it. And it feels like a friend sent you something, like there's a real human touch. And I feel there's not enough of that these days. So there's little things like that that make me really happy.
That's serious. I love that. The human component is so important. That's one of my favorite things about the world of design, that actually matters. That the care and everything actually matters. So you referenced your Swiss roots, which made me I thought about something. My parents said, my parents are also fans, and I got a FedEx.
Oh, cute.
Yes, I got a FedEx this morning from my mother and father, who are certainly watching, Steve and Joy, and they sent me something. Can you toss that up here? And this is to wish. This is the Swiss.
Wow.
This is Swiss hat. So it's whereby to wish the World Cup team good luck. So I'll temporarily wear this for a short while.
Oh my God, all the people in Switzerland are going to be so proud of you right now.
Yes, so hopefully I'm impressing what did you say it was your mother is watching?
Yeah, my family I think is watching, and then lots of my friends.
So look how Swiss I am.
Actually, I taught him a Swiss German word. I'm totally going to put him on the spot right now.
Can you remind me?
Huchi
Huchi.
There's like entire Switzerland is cheering right now.
Can we say it again? Huchi Heschli.
Yeah, that's good.
And now tell them what it means.
It's like if you ask any Swiss German to teach you a Swiss German word, they will teach you this one because it has a lot of the sounds.
Oh yeah, I noticed.
It means kitchen cupboard. And interestingly enough, my husband is a kitchen designer. That was pretty funny.
So there you go. That's my Swiss German lesson for the day.
Yeah.
Huchi Heschli.
Huchi Heschli.
She's got it on me. Well, I'll continue to represent Switzerland as best I can. The internet's going nuts again. I got to go ask you a few more questions from those folks at Culinary Fool. Hi, Brenda. I know Culinary Fool. How do you structure your partnerships with these quick little startups? Like, what is it? What's the business arrangement there?
So here's a lesson learned. I'm very lucky that, for example, to do Cameron and his teams, like when we started it, again, it was never set out to be a company. So it was just like very loosey-goosey, kind of like, let's just build this. Fast forward now, I would not do that again. Even if you start something as a side project, I would say, sit down and just say, hey, in case this catches on, let's just be very clear, like, we're founders, right? Like, here's who has as many rights. And I don't say you have to go crazy and have a lawyer, but maybe just write it down so that there's no misunderstandings afterwards. But so with To-Do, we just have equal partnership, and then Tatley is my own, and Creative more. And it's just, I mean, just be aware of when you start something with someone that you maybe discuss it briefly.
That's great advice, great advice. At Laurie's World, passive income, RE passive income. How did you create that passive income around your blog? Because that's a big thing. People don't really know how to monetize that.
Again, it happened extremely organically and almost eerily, the timing. I just kept the blog up for myself, sort of a visual archive. This was pre-Pinterest, pre-Tumblr. Realized pretty quickly that people are reading it. And then when I was set out to, when I had my daughter and I couldn't work from home anymore because the nanny was at home with the baby, I started looking at renting a desk. This is before I had the idea for Studio Mates.
Got it.
And I remember walking around, I just had to get used to the cost of having a nanny, which is huge. And then I was like, oh man, and I have to now also have a desk rental,
Yep.
And I was a bit worried, so I looked at a few desks in Dumbo, and then remember I went to Starbucks around the corner, I sat down, I was like, man, this is like, can I do this, can I not? And boom, I get an email from Jim Kudal of the Deck Network, and he goes, hey Tina, we would like to take you on into the Deck Network, and this is how much we can pay you. And it was exactly the amount that I needed for a desk rental. And it was like the universe telling me, like, you get that desk, right?
Absolutely.
And so that happened very organically, and again, it's just somehow it's magical. I think when you're really doing something with all your heart.
Sure, you're putting it out in the world can smell it, they can feel it.
Yeah.
No question about it. Last question from the internet for the time being, D_Castillo. Have you noticed any of the single Creative Mornings themes that infect the community the most? I want to evolve the conversation to Creative Mornings here. So let's just, before we go right in there, Creative Mornings is?
Creative Mornings is a breakfast lecture series that's for free that I started in New York City out of the sheer need. I saw a need for the creative community to get together on a regular basis for free in the morning. And it has caught on, and we're now in 84 cities and growing around the world.
How many countries is that?
It's over 30, I think.
That's serious business. Hi, so D_Castillo wants to know, like, you each one of those are monthly themes. So you put a theme up, and then all of the chapters around the world explore that theme, and they have a guest speaker. I have been lucky enough to
You should watch his talk. It's
be
really
asked
good.
to be a Creative Mornings speaker up in Seattle, and did that. That was super fun. But talk to D. Castillo. Tell him what.
So the themes, by the way, are not picked by headquarter. It's picked by seniority of when the hosts came on, which is really interesting. So it's bottom up. Which theme has caught on the most?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is it sex?
Yeah, actually, that's an interesting one. So one chapter picked sex. Oh, actually, no, they were like birds and bees or sex. And then we sort of asked, and this is so interesting when you run a multicultural organization, we sort of asked, hey guys, should we call it birds and bees? And so many came back, it's like, what do you mean? What is that? It's like, oh, it doesn't translate. Certain cultures, birds and bees doesn't translate. Right. So we realized we just have to flat out use
Sounds
the
like
word
snakes
sex.
and wasps.
Yeah.
Like,
So I think sex was the most controversial, I would say, but also the most interesting in how the hosts interpreted the theme and picked their speakers around creativity. So I'm not sure this was a great answer, but that's
right.
all I got.
But I love the alignment of Creative Live, that anyone in the world can come and get free creative education from the world's best, standing on this stage and other stages, and how it aligns with Creative Mornings. And you can go for free to attend a breakfast lecture from some of the greatest creative minds. I love the alignment there. And what you've built is game-changing. And the fact that it's based on largely volunteer effort. Can you talk about how you built it? Give us a little backstory, because that's remarkable.
Well, again, I never intended it to be beyond New York City. But then I had a friend ask me in Zurich if he can start a chapter. I was like, that's, on brand. I'm from Switzerland. I was like, yeah, sure. And then a month later, yeah, there we go.
Sorry.
A month later, my
from
friend
Switzerland too.
John, who moved to LA, was like, come on, let me run it too. And the next thing you know is like I get inquiries from around the world. And it was an interesting moment because I am, as a user interface designer, I was like obsessed with every pixel being perfect. And that also kind of translated into like when I was asked, can I run this in my city? There was a lot of letting go that I had to work on.
Yes.
And
letting go?
Yeah. So, but the beauty of it is that in the end of the day, when you trust people, trust is the biggest compliment of all, right? So when you talk to these hosts, potential hosts, and they win you over, you get a sense they're they can do this and they can do a great job. And once you let go and you trust them with your baby, they will over-deliver. They will.
That's beautiful.
And that's what happened. I mean, I feel like Creative Mornings is an example of how trust breeds magic. This is way beyond me at this point. I've never imagined it to be what it is today, and it all came down to us headquarters trusting these hosts, and they're actually kicking our butt. Like, we had to step out our game in New York. It's like, damn, we call it flair. Every month we see the photos come in, and we call it the flair. That's just the love these hosts pour into these events. And like, just like logos on cupcakes, like Creative Mornings logos on cupcakes. I was like, damn guys, we got to step it up. Or these guys in Barcelona made this ginormous Creative Mornings logo sign and walked around with it in the city.
I think we've got a graphic from Berlin of just a completely packed house in Berlin.
Yeah.
So you've already referenced Berlin and Barcelona, New York, and is it competitive between the?
No, that's the beauty of it. It's not, and I'm super excited that we're actually for the first time ever getting all of the hosts into one room. So we're organizing the first summit. I mean, the reason why I started Creative Mornings is because I believe that real connections are made in person and not behind a screen. So the magic of meeting up. And now we're creating that with our hosts. And I am already preparing to be a total basket case because these are really extraordinary people that run Creative Mornings. And it's a very respectful and loving. I mean, Creative Mornings is all heart.
For sure.
It really is.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
What's the coordinates? You got at Creative Mornings, creativemornings.com.
It's actually at Creative Morning because it's just one letter too long for Twitter. Isn't that annoying?
But that's brilliant. So that's.
I asked Twitter actually if they could change that rule. They were just like, God.
But I love that you asked.
You can always ask.
You can always ask. We have a little request I want to put into the Twitter people.
The Twitter handle link.
So at Creative Morning.
Yep.
Yeah. At To-Do, we already spelled that a couple times.
Yeah.
You're at swissmiss,
Yeah.
Swiss-miss.
Swiss-miss.com is the URL.
Yes.
But you're talking.
I'm talking all over the place.
Yeah, now you're
at
confusing
Swiss-miss.
people because it's at Creative Morning on Twitter.
I'll let her talk. Ta-da! To-Do.
No, it's at Creative Morning on Twitter, but it's creativemornings.com.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then you specifically.
Swiss-miss.com, but Swissmiss on Twitter without a hyphen.
And Instagram.
Swissmiss also.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm Chase Jarvis, just my name, and you can find me on the internet.
Yeah.
Before we break, again, I want to say a huge thanks. We've had some contests that have been going on. We've had people tweeting like mad. I'm looking at the Twitter feed up here on my magic screen. The winner of this contest, who's been quoting Tina like crazy, is at Orange Photo, who wins that GoPro right there. Send an email to production@ChaseJarvis.com, and we will put that thing in the mail and send it to you at Orange Photo. Again, we're here on the Creative Live Network. If this dose of inspiration has made you want to take some classes, you can do that right here at creativelive.com. Huge shout out to Borrow Lenses, to the folks at Creative Live, and AIGA. I'd love another round of applause quickly for the AIGA SF. You guys, Design Week has really got it going on.
And people can put on tattoos.
What's that?
People should stay and we can put on some tattoos.
If you guys all stick around after the show, we will have a tattoo party. I don't know what that sounds like if you're on the internet, but we're gonna have this room is just gonna be a tat fest. Gosh, and then right now, live on other channels, right here in San Francisco and up in Seattle, where there's creative composition with Susan Stripling, painting Photoshop with Jack Davis, Adobe Creative Apps Starter Kit, metal songwriting is going on right now in Creative Live. So, with Isle Levy, and a handmade business with Kari Chapin, and 25 ways to jumpstart your business with Barry Moltz is right next door. So, if folks on the internet are inspired, you can go learn some stuff. And I cannot thank you for the tattoos enough. And I'm a huge, huge fan and always indebted to you. Thank you for teaching me Swiss German and keep inspiring us.
Likewise.
The internet loves you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tina Roth Eisenberg. Thank you so much. Woo. Now back to you, internet. Have a great day. Thank you very much. That's it.
to the new, the new to the old to the new, the new to the old.